like that. Yeah. Yeah.
American booty, that's a dream. From XL booties to extreme. Pocket standing, not left behind. Booty breathing is a grind, and we don't mind. Pick it up, shit. Face don't posting. Put in the time, we get left behind. Stand on your 2 feet, no joint in crowd. Stay grounded with 10 toes down. Some get big heady when they win at a show. Some act like Joe. Plus some hype for the dough. Real breeders are humble, you know. Cause they know just cause you won the class don't mean you won the show.
Friday night dog talk. What is going on, family? Tonight we're going to be talking about fleas and ticks, man. Fleas and ticks. This week I did a consult for somebody on Tuesday. This guy had spent $1,200 according to him. I believe it. He's got 2 dogs and a cat. He has spent $1,200 within the last 6 months on flea, chemical anti-flea liquids you put on dogs. He had a full-blown flea and tick infestation in his home. He didn't comprehend, doesn't understand how he got there. And when I mean his home, I mean his rug. I mean his sofa. I mean his yard, front and back. His car. He's been getting bit by fleas. He woke up one night and you know, I guess he's allergic to flea bites or whatnot. He says he had, you know, swelling in places that fleas had bit. So bottom line is, this gentleman had been having this issue with fleas for the last 6 months. And talking to him and asking him what his vet was sending in this direction to be able to, you know, fight this and whatnot, I soon realized what I've already known and what I stand on and what I've been talking about. And that is that vets are human beings. You're going to have some ethical vets. You're going to have some unethical vets. Let's all agree on one thing, okay? All vets, right? You cannot be a veterinarian and not know the life cycle of a flea, okay? I'm going to keep this real basic because what I want you guys to comprehend is you don't have to be the airplane pilot in order to throw luggage into the plane, okay? Right? So you don't have to be a veterinarian to figure this little part out and kind of realize what it is that you need to do to inhibit this from becoming a problem. And if it is a problem, how to break it down to where it's no longer a problem. There is no reason for you to have to spend $1,200 on flea and tick sprays for the house, flea and tick spray on the dogs, Frontline or whatever other brand you got going on fleas and ticks. Don't get me wrong, they do work. And sometimes if the infestation is bad enough, you may have to end up going that route. But there are other things of which is going to be eye-opening that we're going to be talking about tonight that you can do that is, first of all, completely natural. And second of all, a lot less inexpensive than $1,200 for 6 months. That's $200 a month. It sounds to me like this guy, unfortunately, the vet, sees him as a golden ticket and has taken advantage of him. You guys, I don't know if you've seen the short I dropped with the story about the golden ticket. If you want me to say the story about the golden ticket, drop a comment, say the story about the golden ticket, and I'll tell you the story about the golden ticket. All right. So we got Most Hated Native, greetings. We got Shade Tree. This gentleman feeding garlic all along. No, not feeding garlic, but I'm going to give you something that's even more powerful than garlic as far as getting rid of all this stuff. Okay. Don't get me wrong, garlic is good and it's going to repel. But I'm going to prove to you guys, okay, that you cannot walk into a veterinarian's office completely ignorant of what's happening, because your ignorance feeds into, if you're dealing with a predatory vet. Oh my God, what did he say? Yeah, predatory vet. There's vets out there that understand the flea life cycle completely, but they're not there to fix your problem. They're there to fix theirs. That's where it becomes unethical. And how do they do that? I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to open up your eyes. I suggest you pull up a chair, you raise the volume up, and you pay attention, because I'm going to blow your brains out tonight. I promise you. Alberto Ayala, happy Friday, everyone. What's up, D. Taylor? What's going on, everyone? Celos Fuentes, my bully boy got really bad allergies, open wound hotspots. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Decline. All right. We got ourselves a new member. Let me go ahead and play that.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón. We do this every Monday and Friday at 8 p.c.s.t., man. Nothing but love. Appreciate you joining us. Alberto Ayala, there you go, man. Happy Friday. William Shong, sup, bully fan. First time joining QBN Live. Glad to be here. All right, William Shong. Nothing but love, man. Let me know where you're joining us from. We got Shea Tree, Golden Ticket Story. Please and thank you. Golden Ticket. Okay, we're going to be talking about the Golden Ticket. Vet protocol sucks. Yeah, well, yeah, you still remember vet protocol, huh? It's Sarata Golden Ticket. All right, so here's the Golden Ticket story real quick. So there's this vet that had been practicing for 25 years, and his son just graduated from veterinary school, and he decided to kick back a little bit and let the son run the show at the veterinary clinic that he already had set up. He told the son, man, look, you could change everything around, anything you want here, but there's only one thing, one rule that you have, and that is Big Roy. There's a dog by the name of Big Roy. If he ever comes in here, I do not want you to attend him whatsoever. You're not going to understand it. It's complicated. Just let them know to come back. If they show up on Monday, tell them to show up on Tuesday. Let me know. I'll come here. I'll take care of him directly. So the son said, okay, I agree. Yeah, thunderstorm is bad over here right now, man. I'm just north of Houston. So long story short, the son, Dave Klein, number love, man. The son starts, practicing medicine, practicing veterinary practice. We got Timothy Brooks. Number love, Timothy. Hey.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
You can interrupt me with a membership all you want, man. Number love. We do this every Monday, every Friday at 8 p.c.s.t. So the son starts working at the veterinary practice, and he's starting to, get the hang of it, that sort of thing. And about 2 or 3 weeks go by, and out the blue one morning, he shows up to work, and old Big Roy's there with his owner, and they're first in line to be seen. The son's been feeling good about himself, about everything he's doing, so he said, go ahead and pass old Roy in either way. Knowing full well the father had told him not to do so. Nonetheless, when old Roy comes in, he tells the owner what's bothering old Roy. He says, well, for the last 25 years, he's been having real bad earaches. So, he grabs his scope and he goes into old Roy's ear and he starts looking in there and he sees this big, fat, plump tick about half the size of a golf ball in there. And when he takes even a closer look, he's astonished because the tick is doing this. It's hungry and wants to be fed. He's like, you son of a gun, watch this. So he grabs a spray bottle, right, that had some garlic juice in there, and he sprays it right into the ear. And this tick comes right out of the ear. And so he grabs the tick with these tweezers, puts it in this alcohol bottle, feeling all proud with himself. And he says, what I just took out of his ear is called the golden tick. Right. And I just, your dog should have no more issues. And the dog owner is like, really? He says, yes. He's like, so do I have to still feed him that $500 bag of kibble I buy every week? And, you know, the son's like, what $500 bag of kibble? He's like, this one y'all have up here in the shelf. So he walks over there, grabs the bag, turns it around, sees it. He's like, this is garbage, just a bag of flour. No, that's one of the reasons that tick was so fat. No, you feed him raw, right? And if you get a chance, check out Raul at QBN Kennels. He's going to tell you exactly what to feed your dog so you ain't got to deal with this stuff. And he says something about his way. Later on that night, having dinner, he couldn't help himself. He tells Dad, hey, Dad, I got news for you. I know you said for me not to see old Roy, but you know what? I fixed him. And the father was like, you did what? He's like, yeah, I fixed him. He's like, all it was a big fat tick, a golden tick. Those are as rare as a golden tooth. They can last up to 50 years inside of the host. And I went in there and I just sprayed garlic juice. It came right out. I plucked it with tweezers, threw it right into the specimen bottle with alcohol, and it's there for you to see it. You could just come on over tomorrow morning. You can check it out. The father said, you idiot, that was not a golden tick. That was the golden ticket. How do you think I paid for this house and paid for your veterinary school? And I was just getting ready to transplant it from old Roy to one of old Roy's puppies, and you've just ruined everything. The moral of the story is, don't ever be so blind that you're somebody else's golden ticket, because they will take advantage of you. I hate to say it. I'm a nurse. I'm still active. My license is still active. I've seen doctors put their arms around patients, tell them, I want to do the very best thing for you. And in my medical opinion, what they were doing was not the best thing for the patient. That's just my medical opinion. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but I hope you understand. Either way, let's get into topic. Inserata supersedes Gara. What I'm really concerned about is that there are a lot of cases of these internal meds given to dogs for fleas and ticks, causing seizures and really bad health effects in dogs. Not every dog, but we're going to get into that. So I'm going to answer something here real quick. A lot of these medications that are given for fleas and ticks, there's many reasons why you don't want that. First of all, they are neurotoxic. Okay, neurotoxic. What that means is they're toxic to the nervous system, right? So the problem you're having is what it does is it makes the flea or the tick convulse and release all the contents that they got in their stomach and pretty much die, right? Problem is that same medication is still neurotoxic to dogs in the long run, especially if you're continually giving, right? So, or at least research has said that. So, do you want to continue giving your dog something that possibly could shorten their lifespan or cause seizures or affect other organs, right? That's the question you need to ask yourself, right? The other problem you have is if you have a tick on your dog, a plump, fat tick right there on the dog's neck, and she happens to take in that poison that you just put on the dog to kill the tick, and it goes into a seizure and it has spasms or whatever, and it lets out all of its stomach contents back into the dog. Well, maybe, ticks do pass Lyme's disease. What is it? The Rocky Mountain spotted fever disease. I mean, there's several of them out there. You're pretty much unloading everything, and they got these little spirochetes that are just, they're worse than viruses. You're having it release everything into the dog. And do you really want that to happen? Is that really a good solution? If that tick is already on there and that poison hits the tick and it has a seizure and releases everything back into the dog or flea, I don't know what to tell you. All right. So, most hated native, my local vet, don't know difference between American bullies and pit bulls, so I take my dogs to a good old country vet. That's my suggestion. I will tell you guys something. I just went to a new country vet today, and I am just so thoroughly impressed. It's just crazy. I want to say they, are not just a country vet, they're also a repro vet. So they're a reproduction country vet, which, man, let me just tell you, just blew me out the water. Alberto Ayala, I would like to know if I can give my 3.5-month-old pup garlic, and can I add sardines as a topper? I give him kibble. I had 2 ounces of beef. I would like to change it up. Yes, you can. Just this you have to do on your own. You need to weigh that puppy. Over here, you're saying he's 3.5 months old, but I need to know what his weight is. I'm going to tell you why. So you're going to grab, I wish I had one here. Here, I'll use this as if it was a clove of garlic. You're going to grab, say this is a clove of garlic. You're going to grab 1 clove of garlic. I recommend, or better yet, I do here in my yard, 1 clove of garlic per 100 pounds of dog. So if the dog weighs 100 pounds, he's going to get the entire clove of garlic. If he or she weighs 50 pounds, they're going to get half the clove of garlic. If the puppy weighs 25 pounds, you're only going to get that little quarter of a clove of garlic. Now, probably more important than the amount is what you're going to do to the garlic before you feed it. You need to crush it, or you need to slice it and let it react with air for 15 minutes. The reason you do this, okay, is because there's something in garlic called Allyn, Allyn. And Allyn is not good for dogs, okay? This is why you hear people saying, oh my God, garlic is toxic for dogs. Yeah, bro, do a little more research. Don't just jump off the bridge on the first Google search you get, right? So what happens is Allyn, when exposed to air, after 15 minutes, there's a chemical reaction and it becomes allicin, Alllycin. Okay, look it up, Google it. Don't just take my word for it. Allicin has shown to have very favorable components for dogs, and it isn't toxic for them, right? Especially in the amounts that I'm giving to my dogs. Okay, so make sure to do it that way, and it's going to work out for you. Realize that garlic is a natural flea and tick repellent. We're going to be talking about repellents and why vets take advantage of you with repellents, because that's where their money is made, right? But I'm going to explain to you and I'm going to show you why repellent is like, you'll see. We'll talk about it here in a minute. Shade Tree says, long time ago, before I became holistic, I gave my dogs the flea tick heartworm meds monthly, like very diligently. I gave a tumor lecture unknowingly tumors. I'm sorry to hear that, Shay. Dave Klein, my vet is one of the only ones in the city that doesn't discriminate against the bull breeds. That's definitely a plus. If you have a vet that openly discriminates either against bully breeds, or if you're a breeder and they're openly discriminating, and a lot of you won't even realize, a lot of new breeders will take their dog to the vet and the vet keeps pushing spay, neuter. They're discriminating against you. You probably just don't even know it. Gallo says, what's your Raul? Much love from Reno, Nevada, always providing the community with knowledge. Nothing but love, man. Listen, here's the deal. At least for me, man, if I have information that I know that could prevent you from getting robbed, I'm going to share it with you. And this week, like I said, on Tuesday, this dude calls me up. He's showing me the vet bills. This dude paid $1,200 in 6 months. Still has the same. In fact, he says, and it makes sense, and I'll tell you all in a minute, he has more of a flea and tick problem now than he did 5 months ago, right? Hit the like button, says V Ferreira. There you go, man. Number love, Shade Tree. Every one of my dogs that had Revolution Topical got tumors topically. Whoa. Most hated native is cracking up. What's up, Bully fam? A little late, but this, yeah, you got it. Friday night's the place to be. Shade Tree, number love. What's up, Raul? Gallo or Gallo? Shade Tree. Facts, Raul. Thank you. You got it. Carmelo and Chica. I use Simparica Trio. Is that good? Listen, Carmelo and Chica, whether it's good or not, it's chemicals. And what I'm about to drop tonight is going to sidestep that. And so my suggestion, at least my platform, what we do here is least invasive first. So we're going to try natural remedies, chemical-free remedies first. If we're still having an issue, then we may consider going a little bit deeper into the chemical route. Alberto Ayala, 46 pounds. Okay, so 46 pounds, you can round it to, say, 50 pounds. That's not going to be the end of the world. So you would give her half of a garlic clove, okay? How many times a week? Alberto, I give it to my dogs every day. That's how we do. Michael Delander, I don't know who keeps asking about garlic. They're definitely not following you. I believe you talk about it every time we do videos. Yeah, and here's the funny part, Michael. They want me to help them, and they'll text me, and they're like, man, I've been following you for 5 years. Every day, I don't miss a video. Like, this means that I'm going to, I don't know, give you a free consult or something. I don't know. But I have a quick question. That's always the way it goes. And the quick question always is, you spoke about garlic, but isn't garlic toxic for dogs? Well, if you're asking me that question, then obviously you're just not following me, right? And at that point, that's probably where the conversation ends, because you already lied to me. So why would I even go forward with that conversation? Most hated native, what week do you do your puppy picks? 10 weeks. I need to stay on topic, guys. So I need you to kind of help me out here for a minute, and then we're going to answer questions at the end. Sulema says, the last month I used one called Quattro for Ruby. Oh, my goodness. Carmelo and Chica TV. There you go, man. Number love.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Claro que sí. We do this every Monday and Friday at 8 PCST. There you go, man. Alberto Ayala, thank you. You got it, man. Thank you. I only want the best. All right, let's talk about the best. Let's talk about all this stuff I keep hyping up that is so easy to do and this and that. So let's get into subject. All right. So first things first, you need to know if you're going to be fighting fleas. We're going to go with fleas first. Okay. They're very similar to ticks in many ways, but if we're going to be dealing with fleas, we have a flea outbreak. Wouldn't it behoove you, right? I mean, I understand a lot of you have been born in the internet generation and you go to Google all the time, but wouldn't you think for a minute that it would behoove you to know the flea's life cycle? How does the flea reproduce? What are the stages, right? Knowing the flea's life cycle, you're going to see how easy you're going to figure out how to stop a flea infestation like that. All right? Like that. So let me bring up the flea cycle, life cycle, right? So we have the adult flea. You can see her all the way to the left of your screen. And I say her because we're going to talk about males too. Obviously, you need the males to reproduce, but the females are the ones, right? The female adult tick, she is going to lay eggs. Now, I haven't, well, Raul, you haven't told me, geez, I could figure that part out. Yeah, hold on. There are some conditions that she needs to be present to lay those eggs. By the way, when she lays eggs, those eggs don't stay still in one place. They usually flop off as your dog is walking around in the grass, as your dog walks in through your rugs, as your dog jumps on your couch, as your dog lays in the bed, right? You don't see them because they're just so tiny. They're probably as tiny as a grain of sand, maybe even smaller. just tiny little itty bitty little white eggs, right? So there are obviously, I said 2 conditions, but there's going to be a third, but you'll see here in a second. First condition is there must be blood supply, right? There must be an animal that this flea could cling to and that she can eat. Why is this important? Why am I even bringing it up? Because when the flea bites the dog, right? Basically, she's going to suck up that blood, not just to feed herself, but to also reproduce the eggs. So the flea's saliva is usually what irritates the dog, not the bite. Okay? So what that means is that by the time you're seeing your dog scratch, she already filled her belly, right? By the time the dog is scratching, she's walking away with a belly full of blood. Okay? She's going to lay these eggs anywhere between 2 to 14 days, within the next 2 to 14 days. This is all dependent on other conditions, such as how warm it is. Now, for a female flea to lay eggs and have prime conditions, right? She typically needs it to be above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, preferably between 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, temperature, now let me rewind. If you're below that, she may take a little longer to lay the eggs, but she will still lay them. However, the eggs are susceptible to 2 main things. Predominantly real cold, and secondly, humidity. Okay? Relative humidity, meaning the humidity, say I'm in a room right now, so relative humidity is how much humidity is in this room. So the female flea needs relative humidity to be above 50% for her to lay eggs. And her eggs need relative humidity to be above 50%. So it's real simple. 50% of humidity or more, right, leads to the dog being able, the flea being able to lay eggs and for these eggs to hatch. Okay, so the female flea needs to eat blood. Within 2 to 14 days, she's going to lay eggs. If the temperature is between 70 and 85 degrees, and then in addition to that, you have above 50% humidity, she will lay eggs between 2 or 48 hours, between 2 to 14 days. So if you have, say it's typically 85 degrees, anywhere between 85 and 75 degrees where you live, say Miami, Florida, and you get typically 60 to 90% humidity, Miami, Florida. Your fleas are going to reproduce real quick. So when the dog is bit and she leaves, the saliva is irritating, he scratches, she already got her fill, which means between 2 days and 14 days, depending on the conditions we just spoke about. Oh, wait, there was one more condition about the eggs I forgot to mention. Okay, I did say the relative humidity, okay, but also certain chemicals that you're able to put on the rug will make the eggs dehydrate, just like having less than 50% relative humidity, and they won't be able to hatch. And we're going to talk about those here in a second. So, if the female is able to suck blood from an animal, and when I say animal, I mean a lot of us are thinking dogs, cats. They'll suck blood off of a bird too, just heads up. Anyways, she needs to suck blood. When the dog scratches, oh man, that means she already got her fill. It's a little too late for that. The other thing I'm going to tell you that vets don't want you to know is that when you look at the cycle of life of a flea, the flea life cycle, you see where the adult flea is at? Okay, that is only, you notice there's 4 life cycles, right? Right. So the female or the adult flea, better yet in that picture, makes up only 5% of everything else you're seeing there. This is part of the reason why you guys have an ongoing flea issue forever and ever. Because your vet is bringing you right along like the golden ticket that you are, right? Setting the protocols for you to attack that adult flea who only makes up 5% of your problem. So if right now, just so I could show you the magnitude of it, if right now I was to have a little chihuahua in front of me and I was to run a flea comb through it, and we were to put all the fleas somewhere where we could count them, and he had 10 fleas, what that really means is there's between eggs, larva, and pupa, there are 200, I don't want to call them items, there's 200 reproductive cells. So they're either between egg, either between larva, or pupa. There's 200 of those for just 10 adult fleas, right? 10 adult fleas. So you're over here trying to kill the adult flea, and what you don't realize is you're chasing your own tail. Because say you do kill the adult flea, all right? There is a stage here between egg, larva, and pupa that is actually resistant to insecticide. And that's the pupa stage. So you're over here feeding all this insecticide on your dog, all this poison. Let's put the poison on the dog's skin. Yeah, you're killing the 10 adult fleas. All right, that did it. That's right. We counted 10 fleas. They're all dead. We're good to go. No, buddy. That's only 5% of your problem. The other 200 reproductive stages, let's call them stages, whether it's eggs, larva, or pupa, and I don't know what number of each it is, so don't ask me at that point, are either they're eggs getting ready to become larva, they're either already larva waiting to become pupa, or they're pupas getting ready to jump out and be full-blown adults, right? So this is why you keep chasing your tail and you don't get over a flea infestation. It's because the vet, obviously, conveniently, is making sure we're only attacking 5% of the problem. And in addition to that, he's making sure that this problem is ongoing because you're a golden ticket, right? So let me continue on with this. We already spoke on the eggs. You need 50 to 70% humidity. We said the adult female needs 50 to 70% humidity. She lays between 20 to 50 eggs a day for a total of 2,000 eggs in her lifetime. That's one female little tiny flea. Okay? So many of you have cats, dogs that have fleas or are able to go outside and bring one right into your home. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you live near water, whether it's an ocean, a lake, or a river, if your dog brings a flea into your home, if you're not getting ready to do what I'm about to tell you, be prepared for a full-on flea infestation. because like I said, fleas need humidity between 50 and 70 degrees because they have an outer shell. Think of a crab, right? A crab has an outer shell. Problem with a flea is their shell is so thin, is paper thin, that when the humidity drops, it will crack that eggshell. And when it cracks the eggshell, it kills the flea, right? Would you think or not think that vets know this? I'm pretty sure when you go to veterinary school in this country and just about every other country in the world, there's going to be a point in time you're going to study parasites, not just internal. And when you get to external parasites, aside from mites, aside from ticks, I'm pretty damn sure you're going to be going over fleas and their life cycle. So I'm pretty sure that your vet understands, comprehends, and knows that if you have relative humidity, again, in this room, if I was to measure relative humidity, it would give me the relative humidity of this room. If it was above 50%, that would make this room suitable for flea reproduction, which then leads me to the obvious. If we reduce humidity, relative humidity in this room below 50 degree, what happens to the flea reproduction? Drop your comments over here and tell me, what do you think happens if I was to drop relative humidity in this room from 50% to 40%? Let me know. Let me know. Drop your comments. All right? Because what I want you guys to comprehend is, you're being led, right? You're a lot of us trust these people in power and stop realizing that they're human beings and that they're very capable of taking advantage of every or anyone. I'm not saying all vets are like that. I've met many vets that are ethical. I met one today. So I'm not saying that they're all unethical. What I'm saying is the information I'm putting out, they know. And it's going to be very effective in your fight against fleas. Okay? It's not the only thing we're going to talk about. It's not the only thing you need to do. But the mere fact that you can bring relative humidity from 50% to 40% will stop your flea, flea reproduction instantly within 24 to 48 hours. They will not reproduce. They can't reproduce. They cannot. They will not. Okay? They will not. So, Sam Wheeler, number love, man, appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Every Monday, every Friday, 8 p.c.s.t. So, the flea, the female flea, right? I said originally she needs a host and she needs relative humidity at 50 to 70%. You bring relative humidity to 40%, she's going to jump off. Because not only, and this is intrinsic in the flea. So don't tell me how the flea knows this. It's got to be instinctive. At that microscopic, or not microscopic, but at that small level, small changes in humidity are felt really big or magnified when you reduce the size. So at 40% humidity, she's well aware not only will her eggs not be able to hatch, because what's going to happen to the eggs is they're pretty much going to lose their moisture. Once that happens, they can't hatch. They die in place. So not only does she know this, her life is also at stake. Yeah, her life, her shell that she has, her exoskeleton, right, may crack. And if it cracks, she dies. Right? Flea knows this. That Mother Nature put that into her just instinctively. Probably doesn't even think about it, right? Just realizes this is just not the best place to do this, right? So right now, if you have a flea infestation in your house, if you got fleas, say in your rugs, in your couch, places like that, my initial suggestion is instead of paying $1,200 worth of all this garbage, poison that you're going to put initially on your dog, first step, I'll probably spend $150 on a dehumidifier, on a powerful one. Now, if you live in a one-bedroom apartment, you might get away with murder with just one, and it could dehumidify your entire home to relative humidity below 50% down to 40. That would be great. If you live in a big home, then you're probably going to have to get a big dehumidifier, probably for your living room, one, possibly another one for your kitchen, and a small dehumidifier, one each for each one of your rooms. But wait, it gets even better. Because we're trying to fight humidity, right? You must place dehumidifiers in the bathrooms, right? Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to cause a mass migration of fleas and ticks to your bathrooms because they're seeking humidity, right? So that's the first step, right? So do me a favor. How many of you have had a vet that's brought up, if you have a flea issue going on, has brought up you buying a dehumidifier? Have you ever heard a vet say that? I have never in my life heard a vet even bring a dehumidifier up. Typically, what I am told is, I'm talking about city vets. Typically, they have this protocol. Y'all know we've spoken about veterinary protocols, right? It's always a way to fit you into their business plan. There's a protocol that they are a tick and flea free environment. The minute you hear that, if you sit and listen, you're going to realize they're going to BS you really hard. So that flea and the fact that they're a flea and tick free environment means your dog is going to get an unnecessary $20, $40 fee because we're going to put this poison on your dog because we put it on all dogs. If you want your dog to be seen, it's got to be this way. Otherwise, it can't come in. I don't know about you guys, but I don't allow anyone to manipulate me, period. Especially when you're trying to fit me into your little business model. That's when you're really not going to manipulate me. So if I had a vet that would say, oh, we are a flea and tick free environment, and all dogs got to get frontline, regardless what we're doing, that's what they're going to get. To me, that's not medical practice. Even though it's veterinary medical practice, it's not. Because what if my dog has a kidney issue or a liver issue, or you haven't even looked under the hood and you're already charging me for giving this that we don't even know how it could affect my dog, right? So for me, the minute you say that, my dog's not going to be seen by you, and I'm just one less customer. You may be seeing me as one less customer, but y'all seen how many dogs we got. I don't really care. My dogs rarely go to the vet, but I'm just saying. Yeah, Most Hated Native says local vet here charges $80 extra if your dog has fleas. There you go. There you go. Is that his protocol? Is that what that is? Right? Because they kind of get mistaken with what a medical or veterinary protocol is versus a business plan protocol. You get what I'm saying? So, dehumidifier. That's the first step in your battle. It is not going to be the only step. And the reason it isn't is because your dog will go outside of your home and come back. So the first step in protecting your home, right? Just the first initial step is dehumidifiers. Do the math. Okay. If you're spending $1,200 in 6 months and you still have a flea infestation, It's probably going to cost you, I don't know, these small little dehumidifiers for rooms are about $30 each. Say you got a 4-room house, that's $120 plus 2 big ones. Each one's about $150, so $300 plus $120, $420, and you completely dehumidify your home. You keep it below relative humidity, below 50%, but you can't have it at 49 either. You got to have it all the way down to 40, and that's going to help you protect your home, especially during the summer. Remember, I told you initially that he was fighting, or he has been fighting, a flea infestation, and that it has gotten far worse. It has gotten far worse now in the summertime than it was in the wintertime. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. It's warm. It's more warm and humid during the summertime than it is in the wintertime. So it makes perfect sense. Okay. So dehumidifier to protect the inside of your home. Next thing, repellents. Okay. Now, repellents are just that. We're going to talk about that, Sam Wheeler. Just give me a second. Repellents are just that. They're going to repel fleas, but they're not going to necessarily kill fleas. You need to understand the difference. Why? Because if your handy dandy vet gives you a repellent, and that repellent, say, works for 4 hours, it's not going to repel all the fleas off of your dog. It's going to repel some fleas. And those fleas that it repels may end up in your couch, in your rug, in your hair. They're going to jump off someplace else, right? And when that repellent wears off, guess where they're going to end up again? Because in order for a flea to reproduce, right, the life cycle, it needs blood and humidity. So if you are in your house and you have a flea infestation and you're putting repellent on your dog, that's like pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. Because if your relative humidity, say you're like me and your humidity is over 60% all the time, there's no way you're going to stop a flea infestation, guys, in your home. If it starts, I'm saying you're not. It's not going to happen. And I get people hitting me up all the time, but I vacuum. Oh, you're going to vacuum, but you need to know what you need to put in place in order to vacuum. You got your vet vacuum telling you to vacuum, but there's a couple things you need to do in order for that to be effective, right? So we're going to talk about that. Sean Wheeler, my bad, says, what do you think about treating your yard for fleas to help? Yes, you should. If you have a flea infestation, you should use something in your yard to get rid of fleas. But let's talk about that. It doesn't have to be chemical based. There are plenty of things. See, the Christian era have fog up the house. You see, Christian, they got you well trained. They got you well trained to go buy a chemical or something. So let's talk about the yard here real quick. One of the more powerful things you could use in a yard to get rid of fleas is food grade diatomaceous earth. What? Yeah. Food grade diatomaceous earth. Why is that? Because diatomaceous earth is nothing more than ground up shells, right? Made into a super fine powder. And when you look at it microscopically, it's nothing more, it looks nothing more than charred glass. Remember I said that fleas have an exoskeleton, they're like a crab, and that their exoskeleton, that outer shell, is so thin that relative humidity can crack it. Well, what do you think happens when they get close to this powder? They're getting poked all over the place with this stuff. They're getting cut up. And that's what ends up killing them. Not only that, because diatomaceous earth is a powder, as long as it's not wet outside, it's going to dehydrate them. Remember, less than 50% relative humidity. So if that powder falls on them or they come in contact with it, it's going to dehydrate the flea. All right. So one of the things that you want to throw on your rugs, couch, wherever you're having a flea infestation in your home is diatomaceous earth. And then, let it sit for a good 5-10 minutes and then vacuum. It's going to help dehydrate and it's going to char these adult fleas. It's going to, the sharp edges is going to cut them up. The other thing you can throw on a rug, which deodorizes, is great, is cheap and ineffective, even cheaper than diatomaceous earth, and diatomaceous earth is cheap to begin with, is baking soda. Yes, baking soda. The same baking soda I tell you to bathe your dog in. Trust me, you're going to be bathing him more in baking soda when you listen to what I'm about to tell you. But baking soda will dehydrate not just the adult flea, it's going to dehydrate the eggs. So if it falls wherever eggs are, it's going to dehydrate them to the point where they're not going to be able to hatch, right? Now, larvae, when they hatch into larvae, in the larva stage, really important to know this, larva has no eyes and they prefer moist, listen to this, moist, dark places. So what happens to a dog when it sleeps? Typically, their fur's on their back and they'll curl up if they're cold or whatnot to kind of keep their bellies warm or facing on top of the bedding. So that's usually where the larva wants to head into. So putting some of this baking soda in the dog's bedding with diatomaceous earth or vice versa is going to help you as well to be able to fight this thing. Okay. So we spoke about dehumidifier. We just spoke about baking soda and diatomaceous earth, right? Let me see what else we need to talk about. Oh, really important. The pupa, right? So the larva I just told you is usually going to be found in the dog's bedding. What happens is when the larva wants to transform into an adult flea, it's almost like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. What it does is it's going to pick up dirt and whatever else it could find and create somewhat of a cocoon. And it will transform from larva to adult flea and, pretty much continue the flea life cycle. But here's the thing. Pupa, because it is in a cocoon, makes that larva that's transforming into an adult flea resistant to insecticides. So you may be killing the adult fleas, which we've spoken about being only 5%. You may kill some eggs, right? Or a lot of them. You may even kill larvae. But if you don't kill pupa, you're going to have an adult flea issue all over again who's going to lay eggs, who are going to become larvae, who are going to become pupa, who are going to become adult fleas again. So you understand the cycle, right? So how do you interrupt the pupa if they are resistant to typical insecticide? Dehydration. That's how you do it, right? So in the home dehumidifier, we're going to throw baking soda all over the rug along with diatomaceous earth, wherever, couch, doggy bed, lottie-dottie everywhere. Let it sit if you can, even for an hour. And then you're going to vacuum it up. We're going to try to mechanically remove what is there. But to mechanically remove, meaning vacuuming, without throwing baking soda or diatomaceous earth in there, do you see where it's not going to just necessarily work? Because the vacuum is not going to suck everything out of there. You may think it does, but it doesn't, right? It'll take a good percentage, maybe 40% of what's there. So you'll mechanically remove that. But how effective it would be if you drop baking soda in your rug, let it sit for an hour. If some of those, some of that baking soda powder or diatomaceous earth as well is able to fall on eggs, on pupa or larvae, okay, it dehydrates them. So now you're going to vacuum. Hopefully, if it's larvae, they're dead and you're removing them mechanically. If they're eggs, you're removing them mechanically. The same with pupa. But if you didn't remove them, at least they're having the powdery substance that's either chopping them up or dehydrating them all at the same time. You see where it's coming from, right? Let me answer some questions. Shaytree says she loves baking soda. Shanani Webster, I know the topic is flea and ticks, wondering about vaccinations and allergy shots. Will you possibly be doing a live on this topic? Because I may be my vet's golden ticket, laughing out loud. Yeah, we're definitely gonna dive into that topic. In fact, that's one of the topics I have on my list to make videos on. So yeah, you should be seeing a video on that. Sean Wheeler, have you noticed if you don't have cats, you usually don't have fleas? That's been the way I've seen it in my lifetime. Sean Wheeler, have you noticed? Okay, he just put it twice. V Ferreira, this channel's super underappreciated. I have saved litters, improved quality of my dog's life, and saved a ton of money from paying vets. You got it, V. Number love, man. Appreciate you for that comment. Sean Wheeler, have you noticed? Usually we don't have cats. All right, Sean Wheeler must have something against cats because he's dropped the same comment 3 times. It's Sarata. This is the best explanation of this topic I've ever heard. Well, that's just it. That's just it. Nobody takes the time. No one takes the time to go in, except Raul Fagundes here at the Q, to go in and figure out the flea's life cycle and how ridiculously cheap it could be for you to, flea proof your home, flea proof your dogs, right? So here you go. Shaytree says night lights above water bowls will Dawn dish liquid helps kill fleas. Put alcohol in the water with the water bowl lit. I'm sorry, Donald lit dish soap. I'm sorry, he threw me off there. Always great content, great info. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So that's just it, guys. You don't interrupt one part of any of these life cycles, because if you stop only one of them, as you can see, the others will pick up the slack really quick and make it. If you only got rid of eggs, larva is going to become pupa. Pupa is going to become adult fleas, and you're going to have an egg problem all over again, right? And the same goes with larva, with pupa, and with adult, right? Let me see here. Christian, I had cats are known to spread disease to dogs. Maybe it has something to do with that. Very possible, man. Very possible. Most hated native. None below, man. So again, I don't know if you guys have watched. I might just jump in there and show it to you guys. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if you guys have watched my simple dry dog bath with baking soda. Okay, it's a simple video as you're going to get. Hold on a second, guys. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get to the part and it's trying to give me commercials and whatnot, but I'm trying to show you here. Here you go. So check it out, guys, so that we all are aware that this is no coincidence. This is another reason why you want to follow the queue. But if you're not following the queue and you've had a flea problem, I'm pretty sure you're going to be following the queue after this one. I pretty much guarantee it, because if you hit it in various directions with the dehumidifier, with the baking soda, with the diatomaceous earth, in the places that we've spoken about, you're really going to set up yourself in order to be able to win. Now, you need to do this because their life cycle, remember I said the female flea takes between 2 to 14 days to lay her eggs. And then it can take the eggs, depending on carbon dioxide and vibrations and all that stuff, it can actually cause the eggs to wait about a month before they hatch, maybe even a little bit longer. One other thing, when you pass the vacuum cleaner over the rug, those vibrations give signals to the eggs to go ahead and hatch. So if you're not throwing baking soda and diatomaceous earth on your rug and you're only vacuuming, because that's what the vet told you, you're only making, hypothetically, you're making the problem worse. All right. Let's see. Shanani, she says she spent over $300 on allergy shots from Maria. We'll talk about it, sweetheart. I promise you. We're gonna hit up on that. Shade Tree's cracking up. She says she's not wearing glasses. All right. So basically that's what it comes down to. Not only that, what's funny is I went ahead and spoke. Let me take that down. My apologies. I went ahead and spoke about bathing your dog with baking soda as an anti-yeast, antifungal remedy. Right? So, real quick, let me just show you how I did it. This is why I don't have a flea problem in my yard. These doggos, they're not only going to get a baking soda bath. Also, if you do a vinegar, half water bath, that also changes the pH on the dog's skin, which tells the adult flea not to go ahead and bite the dog because the environment is not adequate, right? Because let me go back to that real quick because I didn't make that point earlier. So you grab a cup of water, a cup of white or apple cider vinegar, you put them together in a bowl, you rinse your dog, and then you pour the bowl on your dog and you put it everywhere. What happened? And then you let them air dry. The reason you let it air dry is because I want as much of that already diluted vinegar to dry on the dog's skin. I've had a bunch of groomers drop comments talking about, this guy's an idiot. You don't let a dog air dry in heat because that's going to feed into whatever. No, what's going to feed into fungi or yeast is if that dog remains humid for a long period of time. If your dog only remains wet for an hour or two, trust me, that's not going to change the situation you have going on. And the reason you want to do that is so you have the highest concentrations of this vinegar and water mix to be on the very top surface of the dog's skin. The flea will find that the skin is too acidic for it. Okay. So fleas are very sensitive to humidity, right? And to pH. So if it's too acid, right? You have that apple cider vinegar and water or white vinegar and water concoction, throw it on the dog, you let it dry. That's too acidic. That flea doesn't want to reproduce there. The other thing is, if you bathe your dog with a dry bath with baking soda, it falls on your dog's skin and it does two things. First, it's going to change the pH on the dog's skin, and rather than make it acidic, it's going to make it too alkaline. So that flea doesn't want to be in that environment. In addition, because it is a powder, right? What it's going to do is, because it is a powder, hold on, let me play it while I'm talking here. Because it is a powder, right? What it's going to do is it's going to dry anything that's on the dog's skin. Remember, we spoke about 50% relative humidity. If you get below 50%, it's going to kill it. So right there in that cup I'm holding, that measuring cup, we have diatomaceous earth and baking soda together. So not only am I dehydrating the fleas that would be already on the dog's skin, we would also have tiny little charred crystals that are going to chop it up into pieces. That's how you attack these pests. And it's completely chemical free. That right there, that cup, let's see, a bag of diatomaceous earth, I think cost me $15, an entire bag. I only used half of a cup. And the baking soda is like $4 for a whole big old little carton of baking soda, big carton of baking soda. So that the whole thing might have cost me $1, let's say $2 to exaggerate. That's about it. Now, this right here, this concoction, you only do it once a week. You don't do it any more than that, because we don't want to, in order to get rid of fleas, we don't want to end up drying the dog's skin either. If you drop it on the dog one time a week, it's not going to have that full-blown dry effect for the entire week. What it's going to do is that particular day, any lottie-dottie, any flea, any egg, any larvae, any pupa that's in the dog's skin, on the dog's skin, it's pretty much going to shrivel up and die because it's going to dry it up, right? If it doesn't kill it there, then we have the other measures in place. So think about it. If there was an egg that did not get dried up to the point where it cracks and dies, by the time the dog makes it in the house and you have a dehumidifier set at 40%, and the baking soda didn't get you, if the diatomaceous earth didn't chop you up, this dehumidifier, when the dog goes to bed, is pretty much going to kill you, right? So, yes, you're absolutely right, Adam Fields. Diatomaceous earth is caustic, right? It will hurt your dog's lungs if they breathe it in, as well as you. Make sure you wear a mask, and make sure when you're applying it to your dog, their nose is upwind, right? Not downwind, upwind, meaning the wind is hitting them directly. So if they shake or they do anything, everything blows off and away from the nose. Okay. Second top, don't stop. Can you do vinegar bath and dry baking soda same week or rotate? Okay. Excellent question. Second top. Here's the thing. The apple cider vinegar or white vinegar and water. So vinegar and water bath is going to make the pH acidic. So it's going to drop it. When you drop the baking soda, you can, but you don't want to do it either the same day or the day after, or maybe even the day after that, because that's going to raise the pH. So what ends up happening is you lowered it, this raises it, you may bring it to somewhere in the middle where it is suitable for the flea to reproduce. So now you don't have that extra barrier. What we're doing is just compounding the elements against the flea. So what I would do is, if I did, say, an apple cider vinegar and water bath on Monday, maybe Wednesday afternoon, I'll do a dry bath with baking soda, right? Because I want to give that apple cider vinegar the ability to keep the pH acidic for that time. Then if I did do the baking soda bath, I would probably, baking soda baths are so freaking effective. They're amazing. I wouldn't do the apple cider vinegar probably until the following Wednesday. Give it the whole full 7 days. Because even though you think your dog is not walking with it, with the dusting of it, there's been like 4 days have gone by, 5 days have gone by since I did it. You put your hands on Girl, on Fireball, on whichever one of my dogs, and you'll still see some of the little powdery stuff flying in the air, right? And that tells you that it's still there. So you can only imagine at the microscopic level, right? So that's pretty much it, man. That is an excellent question. So dehumidifier, right? Big dehumidifier in the living room, right? anywhere there's humidity, you definitely want a powerful dehumidifier. Bathrooms, kitchen, right? You need a powerful dehumidifier. Otherwise, you're going to have the fleas and ticks want to migrate to that area because they're very sensitive to the relative humidity, right? You definitely want to have a dehumidifier in every room. Otherwise, they're going to migrate to the one room that doesn't have the dehumidifier, especially if you live near a water area. So it could be ocean, river, lake, you name it, or even a high humidity area. You definitely want to run these dehumidifiers, especially in the summer months that are more humid. And you want to couple that with other measures that are going to dry out the flea who is sensitive to humidity. Baking soda, diatomaceous earth, right? If you want to go the acid and water or vinegar and water route, you can. It will make the skin so acidic for the flea that it's not going to want to reproduce. Remember, I said for every one adult flea, right, that's only 5% of the eggs, larvae, and pupa, basically 5% of what's going on. So you have another 19 other reproductive cells or eggs, larvae, or pupa that are still out there. So don't concentrate. I mean, don't get me wrong. You want to get rid of the adults, but don't concentrate thinking that, oh, I killed all the adults. That's it. We're done. No, my friend. If you kill 10 adults, keep in mind there's 200 other little reproductive eggs, larvae, or pupa out there that can start the whole thing all over again. Okay. Oh, you got it, Shade Tree, number love. I appreciate you. You guys got to keep in mind, there's been times I've had quite a few dogs in my yard, man. We've never really had flea issues. I've had little outbreaks here and there. Let me explain. This is why it's important that you understand where you're bringing the fleas from. You'll get a happy little go-lucky vet that wants to apply the protocol to you because he thinks everybody walking through the door is a golden ticket. And what they're going to do is, like I said earlier, we are a flea and tick-free workplace, whatever they want to call it. Therefore, every dog has to get frontline. If you ever hear a vet telling you that, unless you have an emergency in your hands, I strongly suggest you walk out and find yourself another vet. Okay. You're usually going to get that with vets that work in the city area because the city area vets have a totally different business model than one in the middle of the country. See, the one in the middle of the country makes their money on cattle, horses, sheep, reproduction of these animals. Even chicken farms, all these big old farms, whether it's through medications or whatever, right? So they don't have to kill you on Fido. They don't have to kill you on little Tom, right? Tom the cat, right? But these city vets, they know full well that the great majority is going to be cats and dogs. And what's one of the most common issues in the cities where relative humidity goes up artificially because buildings bring shade, right? Because you have water access, each apartment has water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, they know that fleas and tick issues can be issues, and they want some, not all, are unethical, and they will run circles through you. So do yourself a favor, either watch QBN or do some research online before you walk into a vet's office, whether you're having a flea or tick issue, whether you're having an allergy issue, whether you're having any type of issue. Otherwise, when you walk in there and they see that you're placing trust on them, if they happen to be unethical, you will never know. They could be smiling at you, putting their arm around your shoulder and telling you it's going to be all right. And in reality, they're going to be attacking the adult flea in this cycle with a repellent, and that's all you're going to get. And you're going to keep saying, well, we did all that, and they came back again. It's got to be the neighbors downstairs. They have 4 cats. It's got to be them. No, it's not them. It's the relative humidity. It's all these things we've talked about. Once you learn how to manipulate these things, you're not going to have any more issues. But you do have to hit them from all the various and different directions we've spoken about. If you don't hit them from all the different directions, if you don't realize who you're up against, meaning I already told you, for every adult flea, there's 19 other things you need to worry about, whether it's eggs, larvae, or pupa. If you don't realize that, you really don't understand the extent of your problem, right? So just keeping it real. Shade Tree says, diatomaceous earth is good for us too. I'll also take it every now and then. Yeah, it's going to deworm you. Deworms the dogs. You can feed it to them as long as it's food grade. Make sure you buy it as food grade. All right. So, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. I know I was going to jump on ticks, but here's the deal. I'm going to make a video exactly on what we covered. I'm going to drop it this weekend. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or if it's going to be Sunday, but at some point I will be dropping it. I was not able to drop it yesterday. I don't know if you guys are aware, but what's my internet called again, man? That's how long of a day I've had. God. Anyways, they had a national blackout. It wasn't even national. I just heard today it was global. Starlink. We have Starlink as the internet, and they had an entire blackout. And what's crazy was I was recording my video exactly when the blackout happened. So it just threw everything off. We had that blackout for, I want to say 2.5, possibly 3 hours. Once everything came back, it was just too late for me to be able to publish. Today, so today, here you go. Real quick on breeders. Breeders, you got to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way to Z whenever you're about to breed. I've been talking about breeding my boy Blueberry to our girl, right? I'm going to tell you right now, it didn't happen. I'm going to tell you why it didn't happen. Didn't happen because Blueberry is immature. He just turned 1 year old July 5th. He licks girl back there. He smells her and he drools, but he doesn't even attempt to mount. Why is that important, Raul? I'm going to tell you why right now. When I went to collect him, right, I would go ahead and do what I had to do, and he would get a full-blown erection. However, he would not shoot out the swimmers because he wouldn't hump. He doesn't understand yet that that's what needs to happen, right? So we're just going to chill, give him a couple months until another female comes in heat. And once he gives us the little humping action, then we'll know he's ready, right? So I didn't want to risk it. This is a really important breeding for us. So I went ahead and we did the breeding with Hector, right? So we just put Hector into girl. That's this boy right here. Shout out to my guy, Peter Stoiber at SMBZ's kennel over there. He's got this beautiful boy that I call the breed standard. And he is the one that we ended up putting into our girl. Okay. I know it's a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. In 6 months, when she decides to come in the heat again, by then Blueberry will be more than ready, and we'll go with the flow, right? Most hated, thanks for the info. You got it, man. You're absolutely right about the country vets. When I was up in New Hampshire, I had a real good friend of mine that was a country vet, and I couldn't have all my dogs if it wasn't for him. There you go, man. Country vets, they're not there. They're there to provide you a service, but they're not there to abuse you, man. Their entire business model does not surround, each dog that comes in that's got to have frontline, because our protocol says that we're a flea-free and tick-free place. Let me tell you something. The 2 flea breakouts or minor breakouts I had, because they didn't get any more than that, were after I took my dog to a vet that had this supposed flea and tick free environment. Okay, so don't buy into that. Luckily for me, and I will recommend this for anybody, the minute you see a flea outbreak, especially if you own a kennel, immediately I dropped baking soda on all the dogs. So they all got a dry baking soda bath everywhere. And I put baking soda on the floors, on the beddings, inside of the building, la-di-da-di, everywhere. Left it on there for half a day, right? Dried everything out. It was, you could just see the dryness everywhere. And then I washed it all off with a hose, except the dogs. And yeah, we don't have flea issues in this home. And there's a reason for it. Whether it's in the kennel area or here in my house. I'm not saying my dogs cannot pick up a flea. A dog, I don't care what you got on a dog, they can pick up a flea for hundreds of millions of reasons, especially where I live. It's so humid. Or if I were to take a dog to the vet, what type of dogs in majority, I'm talking about in general, what type of dogs you think are going into the vet? Or what type of problems are walking into the vet with dogs and cats? Fleas. So your dog may very well pick up a flea when it goes to the vet. So now you have an idea how to attack it. All right. Shade Tree Adam, no way. I put DE in gelatin capsules and take extra water. There you go. What did Adam Fields say? And don't just eat the dust. Mix DE with water for consumption. Yeah, absolutely. You got that right. Shay ain't playing around with the DE. Oh, man, y'all some funny people. DE can dehydrate you if you don't drink enough water. That's for sure. I did my research. Exactly. But make sure not to add it with water when you're going to put it on the flea. We want to dehydrate the flea, not yourself, right? I love DE, especially for my hearts and veggies in my garden. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can use it in your garden too. It's totally pet safe. D. Taylor, Rip to Hulkster. Everyone have awesome weekend, brother. You got it, man. Number love. Yeah, I heard the Hulkster passed. I'm not going to lie. I grew up watching him. I thought he was great. But the one that hit me the most, I know Ozzy Osbourne passed this week as well. But the one that hit me that just totally surprised me was Jamal. I forget his entire name. The dude from the Cosby Show, Warner. Jamal Warner, I think was his name. May he rest in peace. And I think I saw a video or saw a news clip where he was saving his daughter. And when I heard that, it all makes sense. There was something about that guy, Malcolm Jamal Warner. There was something about him that transmitted just, I could feel the positive energy he transmitted. There was something authentic about that guy. And when I found out he was trying to save his daughter from drowning and did, even though he passed, I don't want to say it made me feel good, but I nodded my head and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That's the type of cat that I thought he was. Been a great live. I appreciate you guys, man. Number love. Yeah, Malcolm Jamal. Thank you, guys. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yeah, absolutely, man. May he rest in peace. Number love for you guys. Like I said, we're going to be dropping a video this weekend. Make sure to give us some love, likes, comments, the whole 9 yards. And we'll be going live on Monday with another hot topic. It's been Raul from the Q, and I'll be catching you on the next one.
American bully, that's a dream. From XL booties to extreme. Pocket standing, not left behind. Bullet breathing is a grind that we don't mind. Pick it up, shit. Face doing posting. Put in the time, we get up behind.